Good morning. So I've been working with a few different cards, and this came out a couple days ago, and I had to marinate on it first. I've been working with runes for a while. I've noticed it's a little bit of a slow process with learning it, and I don't know if that's relevant to anybody else who's just been kind of like trying to deal or learn something that they've been struggling with. So I kind of feel like today, this is my reading, but I'm going to read myself and maybe you'll find yourself in it. So in one of my rune decks, the Norns came out, and basically this card talks about destiny and fate and how, you know, we can wish that we have the strength and the ability to rewrite what has been cast as our fortune, basically. And for me personally, I feel like this card is pointing out the different paths we can take, like the different futures that are presented to us. And I don't think that it's one at a time. I think at all times we're functioning in a state of choice. There could even be potentially more than just 3, fates at all time. But since, 3 is a huge number, it makes me think that like at every moment you're presented with the path that you were cast, the path of self-sabotage and destruction, and also finding your higher self. So I also believe that we kind of wander in and out of that all the time, where we just kind of imagine like when we're bowling, right? Except we've put up the guards so we can hopefully not get gutter balls all the time. So imagine the ball as it bounces back and forth, going back and, like all the way down. It feels like that for me, just like you're constantly bouncing, like, and it's something that only like your intuition can push you towards. Like it's learning to trust yourself and hone in on it. And a lot of times we try to find an answer external to ourselves, but it's in us the whole time. So healing and sleep, a problem. She's holding the sword, which means that sometimes we keep our hurts close to us. It means that it is around the time in which we sleep that sometimes our greatest wounds haunt us. It is a card of asking you to forgive yourself for maybe not always being in the lane that you wanted to be in, or that you thought that you would be in some way. Friendship paralysis, the fear of making friends, the fear of having friends, the fear of losing friends, the fear that if people know you, or the more that they get to know you, they'll hate you, or that people aren't really your friends. Like it's always like to your face a friend, to your back a foe, if that makes any sense. And then, like when you have a tendency to overgive, overloving, overdoing, overgiving, overtrying. For me, the 6 of Pentacles is sometimes literally the normal card depicts a guy who's like choosing where to put his money. What is currency to you? For me, currency is communication. That is also probably one of my greatest wounds, right? Even stemming from childhood, when I had traumatic situations happen to me, realizing that not understanding what you're going through, or just simply just not understanding what's happening or what's being, presented to you. How can you what is currency to you? And in the give and take of that, are you overdoing it? Are you under receiving it? Are you under giving and over receiving? Have you lost your faith in something, a situation of some sort? And the way that these two came out together, it is, I think it was that way actually. So, but it's mirror image for you right now. But see how the rabbit is still pointing towards this, and it looks like it's going down through the pentacles, right? So losing your faith in something, right? And I also lost my Pandora. So every time I see that card, it just makes me think, I even have an aura photo where she shows up in it. So sometimes when we lose things, we lose our faith. And so sometimes that means that the child in us, the wounded part of ourselves, like literally if you were a child and you experienced something traumatic, and when you just suddenly stopped being a child and you didn't know how to be a kid anymore, and then you become the adult, still wanting to tap into that inner 5-year-old, and or whatever age was better for you. For me, I remember 5 was my favorite number. I always wanted to be 5 when I grew up. 5 was the best number ever. And so 5 was also before everything fell apart. You know what I mean? I never was perfect, but I remember being happy as a kid. And so as an adult, how do we tap into the adult version of our inner child, where we can still make wishes and still believe in the possibility and the positivity, and that things will work out, things will be something that we have been hoping and praying for. But time is a weird, fickle thing. It doesn't work in the way that we want it to. We want to control things. We want things to happen when we want them to happen, and that's not how it works. It happens when it happens, and that's when it happens. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all. So, perseverance, working hard, allowing time to take its place. For example, you can't rush fruit to bear on a tree. The flower will bloom good and ready when it's ready, and not a moment earlier nor later. You can stunt its growth by forcing it to do something. You can cause it to not be able to produce the kind of fruit if you meddle with it and get into it too much. So this is sometimes a card where you just kind of have to let go and let be, and trust that in the right time, in the right order, things will show up if they're meant for you. And where we feel trapped, mentally, physically, or emotional, where we can perceive the wall of no, as restrictions, but it's actually again, going back to the gutter ball, or not the gutter ball, but the bumpers, where at all times we're just trying to walk through this path without making mistakes. But I think that's the point. We're supposed to make mistakes. And we don't want to. We just want to be perfect, and we want people to love us, and we want all these different things, but sometimes like there is no way to walk through something without getting hurt, without hurting other people, and without learning a lesson. That's just part of it. And if we are better at learning to listen to our intuition, we can avoid some of those cuts and bruises and scrapes. But sometimes I believe that the point, like if you could think about like, why would I sign up for this experience called life? There was a thing I wanted to learn, right? This is called the school of life, right? So what lesson did you sign up for? And what things have to happen in order for us to learn those lessons, right? The moon notoriously rules emotion. It's the fastest moving planet in the entire, close universe to planet Earth. And it's, if you were to follow your astrology, a lot of people disregard the moon, but it is the most accurate thing to pay attention to, because like if you pay attention to the ebb and flow of your emotions and how quickly they can change. You got to get comfortable in your feelings, be able to understand them, understand when they're controlling you and when you are controlling them. And sometimes like it's okay to not be in control. Though we have a bucking kind of reaction towards things, we will buck against it. We will want to understand things that sometimes feel elusive. And just, like, again, time keeps coming up for me. Give it time. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Woo. Boundaries. In any kind of experience, when you realize that you don't have firm boundaries, or your boundaries are the walls that become your prison, like imagine each one of these wands, right, as something that's happened, and slowly over time we've built walls to protect ourselves, where we feel like I'm going to imagine it like a heart, because the last card was the moon, but it does mean the heart. It means our emotions and our internal emotional world, right? So wanting to be seen as strong, and sometimes we're so strong that we keep people at bay, like sometimes people just want to be able to love you in the way that they know how. And that can be a trigger point. It can rub on situations that you've experienced in the past. It can be an insecurity. It can be a place of disbelief. And you might have learned that sometimes when you let people in, it feels like they get in just in time to stab you in the back, is how sometimes that can come across, or it's like I said before, it's like, they something about the back. Let me pull this up. The back, the one that puts their back to you, back to you, back to you. Right? So someone turned their back, that happens. But are you turning your back on you by not allowing people in? Because you fear being stabbed in the back, being betrayed, being hurt. Swords are words, right? So again, going back to the child part of that, when at one point we tried to express ourselves and we felt unheard. And then those unheard words that we thought were unheard actually turned into words used against you. Literally, like, stabbed in the back. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like in a place of vulnerability where you came forward to talk about something, to try really hard to explain yourself, and then you over-explain yourself, right? That's where we shut down, because like you've learned that like when you once used to try to express yourself, now you have learned that it just hurts. And then, then it can make relationships difficult. Like, for example, I have my natal Chiron in my 7th house. So that means that sometimes close interpersonal relationships, friendships, and different things, they become my greatest teachers. People that you allow into your heart, into your deepest parts of your life, become the ones that teach you the biggest lessons about relationships in general, but about yourself, about the way that you do relationships, of your vulnerabilities and your wounding within the relationships, and so let's call that the sandpaper to me. So in my life, I think that people that I love and I care about will be my greatest teachers, will be the ones that inspire me to become the person I am meant to be. And sometimes that means that it will be a difficult challenge. But hopefully before I die, I will have figured out how to be comfortable feeling love just as I am and loving people just as they are, and then also everybody respecting the boundaries. Sometimes love is boundaries. But if you don't know what your boundaries are, you don't know, if your boundaries are good things either. Sometimes you have to learn to unlearn things. And then Hermit energy. This is actually my card based on my birthday and the day that I was born. This is my card, which means that I require space and alone time. Which sometimes asking for alone time, space, it can make you feel selfish because it comes in reverse, right? It can make you uncomfortable, literally, because words have been a hard thing even from the time when I was little. There was a time where I actually I was having such terrible nightmares and I didn't know how to explain what was happening to me, that they actually had to give me pills so I would stop dreaming. But it was after the event that I experienced, and it was, these were dreams that I shouldn't be having at the age that I was, because I had never seen nor experienced those situations. But that's why I believe in energy transfer, the ability to catch other people's shadows, if one might say. So because I realize I'm hypersensitive to people, Hermit energy, learning to appreciate the fact that I can become overstimulated. I can be oversensitive to feeling everybody else, and sometimes suffer from not knowing what is someone else's emotion and what is mine. And so the Hermit energy sometimes is asking you to pull away from energies so you know what is yours. But don't pull away so far that you put yourself in detriment. where you feel isolated and alone, because then that is an act of your own hand. So, the lantern here is sometimes we need to pull away into dark spaces, into the most uncomfortable places of our mind, so we can literally shed light on them. So I hope that my random babbling in some way has helped somebody. But if you are struggling with thinking that, everything is predetermined and that you're stuck, you're always one decision away from making your life better or destroying it. From experiencing the best things you've ever experienced to self-sabotaging yourself, into cutting yourself off from experiencing things. We are the common denominator in our own life. If you are experiencing the same thing over and over and over again, it is not other people, it is yourself. There is a habit of some sort, that we need to change. So calling yourself out and realizing it's okay to not be perfect. I think that's the point. Everyone wants to be perfect all the time and show up as awesome. And sometimes we just suck. But we can recover from sucking because we have learned from that mistake. We have learned from those situations. We have learned. If you can be a visual learner and watch somebody else train wreck and learn, okay, that's something I don't ever want to do, but that's, you got to walk your walk and do your best. Your best is good enough, and figure out where your vulnerabilities are. Figure out where you feel blocked by yourself and blocked by the universe, and then ask yourself, is that block really a block, or is it a protection sending me in the right direction to what it is I'm actually seeking? And at the end of the day, for me, what I am seeking is happiness. I always say, I just want everybody to be happy, including me. So I hope that helps somebody in some way. Bye, guys.